Hi, welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, Pennsylvania, now again, a battleground state, a swing state. Is that believable? And then our popular financial literacy update. All of that follows these words.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, I'll tell you, this is all a bit confusing about whether Pennsylvania is a battleground state or not. I couldn't have two better folks to talk about that with, to help explain that. Laura Olson from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. She's actually been following some of the surrogates around, not the big candidates. And Keegan Gibson, he's the managing editor of politicspa.com. A great website. I encourage you to get on that website, be a regular follower of it. All right, Keegan, help me out here. All of a sudden, after the debate, a state in which the president was thought to have put away 8.8% lead, percentage point lead, now on the average of the Real Clear Politics, 4.25 points. Is Pennsylvania back in play? Give us some of the characteristics.
Well, most of the polls that have come out since the debate, I think there have been 4 or 5 now, have shown the race narrower than it was 2 weeks ago. So I think there's not any real argument that Pennsylvania is getting closer. The real question is, how do we stack up against some of the other states in the country like Ohio and Florida that are showing similar movement? And are we moving enough to get back on the radar as far as television ads and other types of campaigns?
Yeah. Now you've followed some of the surrogates around. I know you covered Jill Biden, right?
Yeah.
Jill Biden, not Joe. We have to get that straight.
We're still in the realm of not the top tier. We're in the wives and sons realm still here in Pennsylvania. So Jill Biden.
No ads, right?
Yeah, Jill Biden was doing kind of an Eastern Pennsylvania swing on Columbus Day, reminding people to register to vote because it was right before the registration deadline, and that voter ID is not required at the polls this year. And so they had a very Pennsylvania-specific message. But we're still kind of on the cusp. I don't know if we get too excited yet. I mean, these polls that have come out have been a little bit more.
So we're getting Ann Romney on Wednesday in Altoona.
Ann Romney in Altoona.
So and fundraising Harrisburg.
So both of you are in agreement that it is tightening. We all agree there.
Absolutely.
Is the tail of the tape the first television ad we see in this state? And the first visit, other than, Governor Romney was here a week or so ago to raise money in Philly and did one public event. Is that the tail? Money here?
Yeah, absolutely. Money on TV is the the determining factor, in my view. You'll start to see maybe a Republican super PAC come in and then maybe followed by the Obama campaign. I think that's the way it'll go if TV ads come back to PA.
And so far, this is just following what the national trends have been as well. That nationally, Obama and Romney have been tightening. It's been a couple of points nationally. So I mean,
in fact, Romney on Real Clear Politics average is taking the lead. Now that changes every day. So when this airs around the state, we could find it reversed. But Romney actually has a lead. That's the first lead in over a year. But let me ask you this question. Both of you, you've been going to some of these events. What's the enthusiasm that you see out in the field at all of these events? Does it look like 4 years ago? I still get the sense it's not the same. We're looking at it in the polls, and we can talk more about that later.
I mean, we had at the Jill Biden event in Harrisburg, they filled up the local office with people who were going to go take out clipboards, register some more voters. I mean, these were the people who want to be there. These are the people who are going to be engaged anyway. These weren't the moderate independent voters who are still not really sure. I mean, these were the diehard folks. I mean, it does look a little bit different. It's not that people aren't engaged, but it's a different tone.
Now, I want to go to another question for you. In all the polls I've done and other polls show tightening, very few undecided voters. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% decided. Now we have some polls showing, whoa, large undecided pool. What's your sense about how that changed?
Based on what I've seen in the polls and also what people I've talked to, the change after the debate and the coverage of the debate, which has almost taken on a life of its own, the change is that people who were sort of in President Obama's column, like choosing him by default, after seeing the debate or hearing about it, Now they're not decided. So
Right.
that's, I think, the big change, that there's a few more
I agree.
undecided.
I think that's... All right, look, let's run to a break. When we come back, I want to talk about this tightening U.S. Senate race, talking about races that have gotten tighter. We'll be back. We're going to talk about U.S. Senate race, Tom Smith versus Bob Casey, incumbent senator, all that and more.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by BetterSaferRoads.com. To voice your support for safer highways and less traffic congestion, visit BetterSaferRoads.com. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Hi, welcome back. We're talking with Laura Olson, Keegan Gibson, both are journalists doing great coverage of Harrisburg and Washington, particularly these campaigns. All right, I tell you what, the U.S. Senate race, we all expected it to get tighter. You know what it seems to me, and Laura, let me start with you on this. This is virtually an air war.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't get the sense that this is a caravan. The candidates are out caravanning it, you know, door to door, town to town, city to city. Is that a fair assessment? It's not a criticism. It's just an observation that we're a big TV state. Go ahead.
The Associated Press had an article out this morning saying the League of Women Voters can't get these guys to agree on a date for a debate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we haven't seen them really side by side. And so instead, I'm turning on my television last night and seeing Casey ad, or
Yes.
negative Casey ad, negative Smith ad.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of the information that that voters are getting about these guys.
Yeah, on that score, here's another race. Senator Casey, before voters got engaged, big lead. I mean, and they varied 10 points to 20 percentage points ahead. Now the polls narrowing, 8, 9, 10-point lead. This race has been changed from likely Democratic to lean Democratic on some of the... What's your sense about where that race stands?
Well, as you noted, it's been a television race so far. And in an air war, whoever spends the most is winning. And Tom Smith has spent about 3 times what Bob Casey has so far. Tom Smith is independently wealthy, so he has the ability to write a check. He's only really got to convince one donor, you know, that he can win.
Is that his wife? No, I'm serious. Didn't he do a press? I don't know.
Let's hope for his campaign.
Yeah, in which he said, "My wife and I have said we're going to spend was it 10 million? I think it was 10 million, an additional 10 million. So 2 maybe, but go ahead.
So if he decides that he wants to do that, if he sees it in the polls that he can win, he has an easier time raising that money than Bob Casey does. Going back to the point about the kind of campaign it is, I think both. The funny thing is about this is normally you see a challenger demanding 20 debates.
Yeah.
Tom Smith doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would really excel in a debate. He's not very. He's prone to sometimes saying things that he shouldn't, or you know, misstating his positions by mistake because he's a humble farm guy. That's his shtick. Yeah. Bob Casey is also not very charismatic. So neither of these. But
he is cautious.
He's very cautious.
He's cautious to a fault. I mean, I've never heard him say, you know, and I've written about him and followed his career. Yeah. Have you ever seen him say anything that would be controversial? It doesn't.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it doesn't strike me as.
So why risk the debate? I think both of them, both campaigns have made the calculation that neither of them wants a debate, frankly, and that's unusual but interesting.
Yeah, and by the way, next week we'll be down on Tuesday to what, 2 weeks until we vote? Is that about it?
I think 3.
3 weeks. You know I want this over. I know you all don't. All right, let's. So the bottom line is, Laura, closing. Casey still got a pretty sizable lead, could get tighter, but no debate.
That's what we're seeing so far.
Okay. All right, let's turn our attention to, I mean, I've invited the 3-row office candidates on this program. And, you know, looks like most of them will appear. These are State Treasurer, Auditor General, and Attorney General. Attorney General's race has an unusual importance. You cover the Capitol for this concern about Penn State, the sexual abuse scandal, Jerry Sandusky, how all that was handled, and which Attorney General candidate is likely to win could matter. Is there any and it looks very close to me. What's your sense about that race?
Sure. I mean, there's very limited public polling on the row office races because they're so a little less high profile. And so what we have seen, Kathleen Kane, the Democrat, has had a slight lead in those. When she was an assistant district attorney in Lackawanna County, had specialized in these child sexual abuse cases, sexual assault cases, and so she's come out very strongly saying she would want to look into what happened with the Sandusky case, how that was investigated, and that would be a pretty strong statement coming from the first potentially Democratic elected attorney general in the state.
Yeah, I had Dave Freed on. We interviewed Freed, and he said he's a little more cautious, Keegan, about what he says when he talks about...
Yeah, but at least he's a little less cautious about speaking with the press and doing interviews and things. Kathleen Kane is running a very Bob Casey, Tom Smith-style campaign where she avoids public exposure and focuses mainly on television ads, which really propelled her to her primary win.
Right, and she's had some pretty high-profile support. Bill Clinton, she did support... Kathleen Kane did support Hillary Clinton in the Democratic primary, right, for president.
For her, took off from work and campaigned for her,
So in the general election, we've seen anti-Kane ads so far from National Republican Group, but we really haven't seen her response yet come out. So
neither she nor Dave Freed are on television or really spending any money at this time. They're saving it for final.
Bottom line here is all three of these, and again, we've invited the candidates, so hopefully we'll have them on, spend 15 minutes with you all out there and get a little bit better sense. What public polls we have close.
Yeah, the row offices, Auditor General and PA Treasurer, it's been like tied, 33% for each candidate, and 33% of people don't know.
No, yeah, I traditionally, sometimes I put them in polls, but I don't need 35, 40, 50% of the people saying, they don't know because you need so much money. All right, let's go to, I want to talk about the state legislature. Do either of you think there will be a partisan change in the State House or the State Senate? I'll start with you, Laura.
It's unlikely. It seems like the Republicans are going to be able to hold. They may lose some seats, but they have such a wide margin already in the House that it gives them a good place to be starting from.
Now, I know you've paid particular attention on your website to the Senate. You have the House, too, because you run a lot of stuff on. But you think there may be 3 seats, I know?
Yeah, the Pennsylvania Senate has been the bastion of Republican dominance for years.
As I put it, since before the fall of the Roman Empire.
Right? Yeah, the Democrats last had a majority in '92 or something. But this year, because the redistricting plan that would have protected Republican incumbents was tossed out by the court, the Democrats actually have a unique opportunity. They have a realistic chance in about 4 seats, and they'll probably be able to bring in 2. Now, why
Not enough for control.
No, but here's why that matters. The Republican caucus in the Senate includes a lot of moderate guys that don't want to take tough votes about labor issues or unemployment compensation or tort reform. So if the Democrats can bump up their numbers there by 2 or 3 and then pull off 2 or 3 moderate Republicans, that really changes the ability of conservative Republicans to push their agenda in Harrisburg.
Great update. We'll have you back soon. All right, coming up, our popular financial literacy update. Stay with us.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the State System of Higher Education, 14 state-owned universities. The state system is the largest provider of higher education in Pennsylvania. And by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back to the program. While October is International Credit Union Month, joining me as often as is the case for the Financial Literacy Update is Mike Wishnow. He's a Senior VP with the PA Credit Union Association, and Rick Wargo. He's their top lawyer, General Counsel, and Executive VP. All right, guys, I want to get into a lot of these emerging technologies, how financial services is changing. But I'm going to start with you, International Credit Union Month. Give your 1 minute.
Oh, absolutely. October is International Credit Union Month. It's a celebration of credit unions, credit union members, credit union employees, and every October our credit unions really become festive and have activities and that kind of thing.
Good for you guys.
So.
All right, look, every time I turn around, there's something new, Rick, in the financial services. I can't keep them up. I think you call them emerging technologies, right?
Sure.
Let's go through a couple of them. This is great. You got to listen to this because, man, younger people, it's going to be the way they do their bank investments, all their financial services. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, the long and the short of it is the consumer wants control of their financial services. They don't want to be slowed down walking to a branch, looking through the drive-up. So a lot may be driven by the cell phone. There's prepaid cards,
Right.
iPad apps, the Apple apps. So that is really where the financial services industry is going to catch up and keep pace with
No
consumer
long
demand.
lines waiting to get serviced, right? At payday when you used to have 50 people in line, right? Is that
Sure.
about-
You can, with your smartphone, you can take a picture of the check, transmit it to your financial institution. Funds are deposited
Now,
in your account.
Something you and I have always talked about. Man, when you when you go down that line, you've got to be careful and safeguard.
Oh, absolutely. There are cautions with anything. And as these new technologies emerge and as consumers find them more convenient, they also have to make sure that they protect themselves in terms of their security, in terms of passwords, in terms of losing their gizmos and gadgets. All kinds of negative things can happen. But by and large, I mean, it's going to make things more convenient for the consumer. And the early adopters, Terry, as we were talking earlier, are the kids.
Young people, yep.
Yeah.
Prepaid cards, talk about that.
Sure. Holiday season's just around the corner. It's a popular gift-giving type of thing. Word to the consumer is read the fine print when you buy that prepaid card. Understand how it's reloadable, what its expiration date. Watch out for the fees. They are a good value. There's just a couple of things
I think I
to keep
read,
an eye on.
yeah, last winter I remember reading a lot of cautions about some of these cards for fees. They weren't, is that, am I right or wrong? I don't get.
You're absolutely right. There are sort of two sets of prepaid cards. The ones where you would go and purchase.
Right.
And you can purchase them through your financial institution, through your credit union, through your bank. You can also walk up to your local pharmacy and purchase them.
Okay.
And they're issued by somebody. Always read what the costs are. Some of them, particularly some of those that are sold in low, moderate income areas, tend to have high reload fees.
Whoa.
Tend to have fees for every time you use them. Those kinds of things. So be very wary about fees with prepaids. The other thing with prepaids, and Rick's very engaged in this aspect as well, is that more and more governments are going to prepaid cards. Social Security Administration, within the next 6 months, are going to require either direct deposit, or if you don't have a direct deposit, they're going to give you a preloaded MasterCard.
Wow.
Yeah. Right now, the state, if you get unemployment benefits, they're either direct deposited or they're loaded onto a prepaid card for you.
Wow.
So prepaid cards are definitely...
I'm so out of this. I mean, my wife literally handles all this stuff. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, I want to ask you about something called EMV chip technology. I'm learning a lot here, and I hope you are too.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Highmark Blue Shield, changing the way health plans work for business with a variety of plan options for employers and more choices for employees. Information is available at highmark.com. Have a greater hand in your company's health. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care.
Hi, welcome back. Well, we're talking to the folks from the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association, man, about these financial investment and financial services, I should say, emerging technologies. Man, this is a radical change that's taking place. All right, I'm back to you, Rick. I want to talk about EMV chip technology. Explain that.
Sure. EMV is EuroPay, MasterCard, Visa. It is a microchip on the plastic card instead of mag stripe, commonly used in Europe and Canada. The value of it is more security. MasterCard, at the very least, will be trying to implement it in the U.S. come 2013.
Now, explain that. What does that mean? We have a card. You have a credit card, right?
Correct. It is a credit card.
And it has a chip in it.
Right.
And then what's on the chip?
Your account data, but it is a lot more difficult for hackers, fraudsters to manipulate or break as opposed to magnetic stripe technology.
I get it. So you would use that card, you would go and let's say you purchase something, you could use it the way you use your regular credit
Absolutely.
card?
Absolutely. It's essentially a credit card.
Yeah, it's the same thing. The only difference is that black strip on the back is now in a little microchip. And what it does is it makes it very difficult if somebody were to get your information to fraudulently replicate your card and sort of steal your identity.
Stay right. Oh, go ahead. Add your point, and then I want to go back to you on what to do about it.
I was just amplifying Mike's point that it is more secure and it makes the card more difficult to counterfeit.
Yeah. I guess my point is, as we go to all of these new technologies, as you pointed out, I mean, that increases the likelihood that we'll have identity theft. You know, if I get another email from someone in Nigeria. Telling me they have $1 million they just want to send to my house. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, the scams will evolve with the technology. You know, back in the day it was a letter and then it became an email. At one point it was a fax. The scams will continue. But with the the chip technology, it's really going to make it much more secure for consumers. The trick is getting it adopted because it took Europe about 10 years to get it in place. All the merchants are going to have to be in a position where they can accept the chip technology, and that's beginning to happen now.
Let's go through a couple of what people should do. You all have a list of this. You routinely harp on this, and I'm using that in a good way. You know, harp on it, harp on it, harp on it. Let's go through a couple of them. We got online security. We've got a shredder. We got online banking. Go ahead. Just if you had to give 2 or 3 points to the folks out there, 2 or 3, what would you tell them to do?
Always check your statements. Make sure they're accurate with your account history. Never write your PIN on the back of a card. If you do your banking online, check. Make sure you're using passwords. Make sure you're in a secure area.
Now here's a point. I will never give out any personal information to any email or any incoming phone call. I insist that I will call. If it's my credit card company, I have a statement, I have the number. You know, if it's you folks, I have numbers. I know how to take it from there.
Absolutely. No credit card issuer will ask you for your number. They know it. So if somebody calls you, say, thank you very much, let me call you back. Call the number that you know to your financial institution.
I mean, almost every day, you know, there's we have about 30 seconds, a report of a scam. But these are likely to increase with this technology, yes or no?
Chip card, I think, is going to be a help, but more online use and the more mobile we go to, potentially.
And you agree?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree.
All right, look, great update as always. All right, I want to thank you for watching this edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, stay well.